Now some comments on web advertising. So the advertising market is very big. It's growing faster than traditional advertising, and it is still true, especially as we see in the mobile case, that advertising needs to redirect some of its dollars from the traditional mode, especially paper mode, to the internet. Internet advertising has a lot of good issues of scale. Also, it's much easier to customize it. If you have a paper advertisement, you can customize it a bit. Maybe your version of the New York Times you distribute in Los Angeles can be different from the in advertising from the version in New York City, but it's still not super customized. Whereas you can actually customize the advertising on a web page to the individual user, because you know if you're browsing this with logged into your Yahoo or Google or Bing account, they know who you are, they know the type of thing you do, and they can use that fact in generating the advertisement that will make you happy. Of course, the other type of advertisements you get is if you do a search, there are so-called paid responses. So those paid responses will tend to come back. In the case of Google, it tends to be on the right side of the page, with the main responses on the left. And we can measure how much money we make because we have a record of all the clicks and whether those clicks ended up in me buying anything. Here's a little plot from a recent May 29, 2013 Internet Trends Talk, and this is on the amount of advertising versus media time. So we have here that 42% of the time is spent watching TV, and 43% of the advertisements money spent goes to TV. So that's pretty well balanced. Print is way off balance. Only 6% of the estimate is that only 6% of the time people read print, but 23% of the advertising budget is going into that. Radio is actually under. People, 14% of the time people listen to radio. This is maybe due to the growing importance of car radios and nice services for car radios, but only 10% of the dollars there. And mobile is a huge underserved area. So this is again the internet, but the internet accessed by smartphones. That's 12% of the consumer use, but only 3% of the advertising dollars. And here's a number here that currently internet advertising is 37 billion, and mobile advertising is 4 billion. And you can see there's quite a lot of growth. There's a $20 billion opportunity here for internet advertising, taking these two, trying to grow the advertising to the media use. It's worth noticing, since it's in China, there is more access of material through the smartphone than there is through desktops. And so these numbers here are probably for, this is for the USA, and where still the desktop access is more than the smartphone access. So if we look at typical page, this is a Yahoo page, but you get similar things for Google and Microsoft. You have here your paid responses here, and featured one up the top here, and then here you have your unbiased ones here. And all of these things and these other suggested trial searches all have to feed in the possibility of being biased by advertising dollars. You have to watch what these people do to you, because they're not really the party. They have to somehow balance making you happy, which is giving you exactly what you want, versus keeping their advertisers happy. And there's a trade-off there, because that's not obviously quite the same thing. And so again, you have a complex system You click one page and you go to another page, and when you go to that page, you carry with you where you came from and how you got there, and that can be used to optimize what's put on that page, especially if the page you start from and the page you got to are actually owned by the same company. It can do an extremely good job of customizing what it gives you. So that's a very important area of development in this type of activity. There are so-called display ads, which I must admit I don't like. They keep popping up and annoying me. I mean, that's true of, of course, advertisers anyway. In general, I find internet advertising less annoying than TV advertising, because in TV advertising you have to switch off your mind whenever the ad comes up, whereas in internet advertising you just have to redirect your eye. But display ads tend to pop up and use a large area and difficult to switch them off. That's probably why they actually are probably cost more money and are popular with advertisers. So there are various types of ads. There are guaranteed delivery, which guarantees a certain number of activity, or non-guaranteed deliver with which you do not guarantee that your actual display will be shown. It will depend on what the people want, whether that your banner gets shown. So we have various models for payment called essentially the cost per time the ad is generated, the cost per click, namely that you only pay when your ad is clicked by somebody, and the other thing is when you not only click, but when I click on the BMW ad and I buy a BMW, then the person who put that initial ad in gets paid presumably a lot of money, because they probably made quite a bit. So, but if the same thing is true for toothpaste as well, when there's not so much money involved. So computational advertising is a pretty interesting area, and there are all sorts of issues, as I've already really discussed. We have some conflicting goals, because this is an example of an optimization problem where we have different goals from the advertiser, the publisher, then that's Yahoo or Google or Bing or eBay or Amazon, the user, and the ad agency, which is the broker. So we need to, or you could say that's the ad agency is essentially the Google search engine. But that I would say is really the publisher, because the publisher, like often you would have a Google search engine will be on a Google page. If Google search engine was on a different person's page, then these would be distinct. So we have all sorts of, this is a multi-objective function optimization problem. You can weight these in different ways and try things out. And remember the A/B testing we can do on all this thing. We discussed that for Netflix. That we can have all sorts of different algorithms and keep trying them out on subsets of the populace and see which ones actually work. Namely, because we have to trade these things off against each other. Often in a giant optimization problem, you just put various coefficients in front of the measure of the happiness or the financial value of these particular components, and then just trade off those size of those components.